Okay. Yeah. Okay, so I'll just go through it pretty briefly and then I'll let you do it. Okay. Hi everyone. Okay, welcome to the Git workshop. So we're gonna get started. So we figured that some of you guys here probably have either heard of Git already or have started using it since yesterday. So the first few parts that we're going to be covering are probably things that you may or may not have done already, but regardless, we'll go through it and then we'll try to show things that that maybe you haven't done yet. But so this is our Git workshop. We're going to be covering some Git basics. So first we'll go through kind of what is Git. We'll show how to create a GitHub repository. Just curious here, how many of you guys here have already created a GitHub repo? Okay, cool. So that's probably the part that we'll like skim through. But after that, we'll show Git branches and then just some commands that you can use throughout your project. And then we'll also show kind of how do you merge changes. Okay, just quickly, again, we are from WICS, so Women in Information Computer Science. We're a social and professional organization. We host a lot of different events ranging from like mentorship programs to office tours and a lot of like just fun social events. So jumping into Git. So Git is a version control system that allows you essentially to have people on different people working on the same code base. So it allows you to track and manage changes to the code. And it is different from GitHub. GitHub is where you create like repositories and things like that. The Git is the system that actually allows you to do version control. And the way that you can use Git is by downloading it. So since you guys have already created the GitHub repo, you guys probably have already gone through that process already. So we're not going to be showing that part. So the way that Git allows version control is on GitHub, github.com. This is where you create something called a remote repository. So this repository is hosted on the GitHub server. So yeah, you see up at the top, there's the remote server. And then on your own machine, this is where you create something called a local repository. And so a way to kind of like visualize this is imagine like you're on a software team, and on the software team, you have two different team members, Bob and Alice. And you guys are both working on creating like, I don't know, like a website. I mean, basically what you guys are doing here with VenusHacks and Hackathon project. And so if Bob wants to make changes on his laptop, he has his own copy of the repository. Repository, I don't think I mentioned, but it's basically just like name for like a project folder. But yeah, so Bob has his own copy, and then Alice also has her own copy of the code base, and so that allows both sides of the party to make changes to their code, and then eventually through using Git, through merging and commands like that, we're able to combine both Bob and Alice's code together and have it all in one place on the GitHub remote repo. Okay, so this diagram looks a bit confusing, but it kind of dives into what lets Git what makes Git allows us to use version control, but it's the idea of like branches. And so we can go into this a little bit more later, but basically right now you can see that there's things called like a master branch, release development, feature. These are all kind of terms that in software engineering, in like a software engineering team, you would see. And so like a team that is building on like a product, maybe they're creating a lot of different features, and maybe you don't want like everyone to just mess with the main code base. And so one way to really have that separation is to create branches, and each branch can represent like a different feature. And so maybe one team of developers working on a certain feature on one branch, and another team of developers working on another feature on another branch. And at the very end, everything comes together onto that one main branch, the master branch. Okay, I'll keep into note showers. But that made command. But basically, we're going to start out with creating and cloning the GitHub repo. And then we're going to be showing commands that actually allows you to make changes. So pushing, committing, adding, and then again, talking a little bit about merging. So how you have two separate people working on your own code base, how you work together, and at the very end, pooling changes. So how does your mission reflect the changes that were made on the other, like on the remote repo? Okay, so I think this part you guys have already kind of done, since you guys have a GitHub repo. But basically, like the way that I would create a repo is on github.com. You would create a remote repo, and then on your local machine, that's where you create your own local repo using the git init command, and then you would like use a special command to kind of like map the local repo to the remote repo. Another way to also create a repo is using cloning. So git clone is the command. And so usually this is when like maybe one member on your team has already created a repo, and another team member now wants access to that repo. Then they can use the link, like usually the HTTPS link on the GitHub repo, and they can just type in git with the URL, and then that team member will have access to the code base. And then, so yeah, this is just some like some access stuff. I'm sure that you guys have gotten to the point of where you guys have a GitHub repo, you guys have gone through this. But this is here for reference. Okay, so we're gonna get into making changes in Git. So let's say, again, back to kind of our like idea of building a website, whatever your VenusHacks project is. Bob says, I want to add a button. The thing is, like, what if Bob doesn't know whether this button will work? Like, there's already existing code in the current project, in the current website, but if Bob adds this button code, like, it is something in our website. It's a very realistic problem in software engineering. Like, you have like your current product, and you don't want to put it in production. Like, maybe an intern comes on, and they add like this one line, and like the whole website crashes. So the idea is, going back to the diagram, we have the main branch, the master branch, where this is like all the important code, all the button code, and then Bob comes in and be like, oh, you have this button code. Okay, well, instead of messing up with the main branch, I'm going to create a separate branch. And creating a separate branch is basically like making a copy of the current code on the master branch. Maybe that's like diverts away upward if we look at the blue circle. And so that's Bob's own branch where he can now kind of like mess around with it, like add stuff, and then I can still have without. So he's not going to affect like whatever is currently operating. And then the circles basically represent a commit. So commit is like when a developer finishes changes and they want to push the changes onto the repo. That's like so again, you can have multiple branches. This is just like a very simplified diagram. If Alice wants to add another feature to the website, she can create her own branch. Okay, so to actually create a branch, the exact command that you'll need is the first one. So git checkout dash b new branch name, and then this will make a copy of the current code that's on the master branch, and then you're able to modify whatever changes you make in that branch will only be in that branch. The master branch won't get affected, as ideally version control. The other commands are like when you want to, for example, git checkout existing branch. That's when you want to branch right now, like Bob's branch, to the main branch. Git checkout existing branch name. Git branch dash yes if you want to delete a branch, a merge branch, and then git branch. It's very useful. This is for viewing a list of branches right now. And to also see what's on honestly, it's kind of hard to visualize what it is. So it's better if we do it, show it in the demo later. Okay, so committing a Git branch to this pipe.
Okay, so now you have created your branch, you've made changes, it looks wonderful, and you want to add it back to your master branch to fit it with everything else. So it takes a few steps. As you can see in the diagram here, you have your working directory, and then you need to use git add to add everything to the staging area. This is so you can stagger your commits, so you're not forced to commit all your changes all at once. You can choose which ones you want to first commit. After you put in the staging area, you would move it to, you use git commit to move it to the local repository. And for good practice, you should add -m and then write a message just so you know, looking back, like what this commit did. So be like, oh, add a button, fix this kind of bug, so and so. If you just commit it and you look back and you're like, oh, I don't know what I did here, it makes it a little bit difficult. So good practice to add your messages. And then after you have it in your local repository, you need to then git push it so it actually appears in your remote repository. And this makes it so that all your changes can be seen by everyone. So a lot of steps to it, but it is for good reason. Also to mention some git add, just some flags. You can use different flags to control what kind of files you want to add. So git add -a will stage all your files, included, deleted, modified, and new ones. If you use the period, and it's a little bit hard to see, it only stages the new and modified files. And then if you do -u, it stages the modified and deleted files only. So you want to merge your changes now. So as this little character wants to do, he is done with his button and he wants to add it to the main code. So you can use the command git merge to allow for the main and feature history commits to not be changed. Instead, it just adds a new merge commit. So there are two ways we can really go about to applying changes done on one branch to another branch. So the first way here is that you can use checkout branch to go to the branch that you want changes to be made in. And then you can open your terminal in that working directory and then type in this command git merge and then change branch, where change branch is the branch that has the changes you want to apply. And then let me move this so you can see what that says. In the main branch, it says git merge new branch. So your second way is that you can check out to the branch, again, like before, and then you use the command git rebase with the name of the branch where you want the changes, with the changes that you want to apply to the branch that you're currently in. And then here is just a little diagram of how git rebase works. So as you can see, before rebasing, it has just like two parallel branches with different commits. And then after rebasing, you just connect it all into one. So quite a useful tool that you will find to use. Oh. So we have two little characters. Let's say they're on a team. We have Bob and Alice. Bob has done it. He's pushed his button changes to the main code, and the website now has the button. So how does Alex see these changes? So in order to get the changes, it doesn't just appear in your code. You do need to do some commands. I know lots of commands, but don't worry, we will have a cheat sheet at the end of all the commands, so you don't have to memorize them. But in order to get these changes, you should first go to the branch you want. Always try and keep things in branches to keep things organized. And then open your terminal and use the command git pull and then the branch name. This will be getting all of the changes from the remote repository into your branch. You can think of it as pushing, you push it to the repository, pulling, get the stuff from the repository. Here are some other useful git commands that personally in my use of git I have found quite useful. So the first two kind of go together is git stash and git pop. Basically is if you made changes but you don't really want to commit them, then you can git stash, which is basically just putting all your changes onto like a stack. And this could be useful for like if you want to pull from a different branch, but you don't want to lose your changes, you first stash them away, pull, and then you can use git pop to take the changes from the stack and put them back onto your branch with and incorporating them into the new file that you just like pulled from. Git status shows the state of the working directory and a staging area. So it shows you like which files have been changed, which have been added and stuff, just so you can keep track. That's very useful to just check to make sure you have everything you want and anything you don't want is not there. Git branch shows all of your current branches. And there's a lot of different flags that I'm sure if you just search on Google, I don't want to list them all, but if you search on Google, you have like different ways to modify and manipulate your use of branches. A few more, so we have git log. This shows the commit history. And remember how I said it's good practice to add a message? This is where it'll come in handy. You'll be able to look at your past commits and see, okay, this is what commit did what. And then git init is where you create a new local repository or you reinitialize an existing one. And we'll show how that will come in handy soon. And then git reset. I personally have found this to be very useful. If you, let's say you make a commit and you're like, oh no, that's not right. Let's say I put in a password to something in the file, and now it is seen, is in repository and is in the history. And you could just change it and then push again, but it's still in your commit history. So what you do is you can use git reset to basically revert that commit, take it away, and then it is gone from your history too. So a useful mode of this command is git reset dash dash, the dashes should be together, hard head in all caps and a little squiggly line. I forgot what it's called. Yes. But do be careful. This could delete uncommitted changes. So very powerful, very useful, but can also make some irreversible changes. So now we will give you a quick demo to show you to put in all of our commands that we've taught you into use, and take this as like a little review session for you too.
Cool. All right. So like we said, we will quickly show the part where you do create a GitHub repo. So, okay, let's. Okay, perfect. All right. So here we have our github.com. And so we're going to start off by creating that new repo. So again, just to kind of like give everyone the visualization again, we are right here in this step where we are creating that repo on the remote servers on GitHub. Okay. So I'm going to create VenusHacks. Okay. So here you see that we just created a GitHub repo. Now we do need to create this step. We do this step where we make our own local repository. So to do that, we have to go onto our terminal. Okay. So we can open up our VS Code, and I'm already in VenusHacks, right?
Yeah, we're gonna creating a folder.
Yeah, so we already created a folder on our machine, the VenusHacks, and so this should be opened. We new terminal. Okay. So right now, the way that you use git commands is like, okay, if you do, like, for example, earlier, one of the commands was like git branch. If you do git branch right now, I think we have to, let's create a new, I think it's because we didn't delete the folder, huh?
I did them.
Okay.
You just delete.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, feedback.
Okay. I'm just gonna create a new folder. Okay. Okay, so right now I'm just gonna create a new folder called yes. Okay, cool. So we're in okay, we're in the Venus folder right now. So this is probably where you want to be working keeping all your code files for your project. So if you look back here, it actually gives you the commands. So we want to create a new repository on the terminal. So we're going to start off with git init. And so that creates the local repo on our local machine. And then we don't really have to do this, the git add commit branch right now, or the git add and commit right now. We can just do this first. Okay. So git remote add origin, that basically does the kind of the mapping that we were talking about, where it connects the local repository to the remote server, so that now if you make any changes, if you push any changes, GitHub will know where to direct those changes to. Okay, and then last one is git finish. Okay. Okay, what we can do here is let's create a new file. So to add. Okay. And so git add and then git commit. Okay, let's try this again. So git branch and then that one we already did. Just do it again just in case.
Also, we're walking through the command to know what goes with what. But if you're ready, you can just copy paste and just paste it all into the terminal, like every single command at once, and it will know to go one.
Which one did that show? I think it's just some kind of like option that allows you to like that lets you like do origin or like push the, it has to do with like something with like allowing you to set your branch to the remote repository. But honestly, I'm not sure. But the -am, those are all just options that you can like options that you can add to your command.
Yeah, we don't memorize all of them. But if you do, there is an official site with all the flags and all their uses.
This is what it was before. Should we just try this one? It's about to push the maps. Okay, so yeah. Okay. Honestly, Git can be finicky sometimes. But yeah, so we just copied the code here, and that should create as the new repo. And so now if you refresh the page, yeah, okay. So our new repo is created. And then if you ever want to clone the repo, so if like another team member wants to access this repo, this right here will give you the link that if you copy it, you can do git clone, paste the URL, and then that's how you can, other members can access this repo. So now we have the local repo set up and it's connected to the remote repo. And then now Jenny will show kind of how you can make changes and push those changes onto Git.
Yeah, so I think right now we already have a new file here. I'm just gonna rename that. Just kidding, apparently I can't. Why not rename it? Okay, just kidding. I'm just gonna enter a folder. There you go. Oh yeah, because so fun thing. In the terminal, we were in the folder. We put the repository there, but we also go into the folder. So now I'm in the folder Venus. I have the README. Let's see what it says. Okay. And now where's the terminal? If I go back to the terminal, let's see, right now, as you see, it does have a README that says hashtag. So if I want to, let's say I want to go to a branch, let's just call it my branch.
Okay, check out.
Just kidding. I don't even know my commands. So now I'm in this branch. And as you can see now, there are two branches, May and my branch. And I'm currently sitting in my branch, shown with the green. So now that I'm on this branch, let's say I want to create a new file and let's just call it main.py. Yay, I have this file and I'm just gonna write like, oh, main file, main stuff goes here. I'm very sure of what my project is. And if I go back to I'm going back to main ventures. So I can git stash. So you can, yeah. So here we can use our commit command we can add, commit, push our files again. But if you also don't want to memorize all your commands here, we do have this useful thing here in VS Code where you can just, here it says changes, that would be like your git add, and then your message, added main.py, let's just say. Not a very good message, but we didn't do much. And then this would be the commit one, which is basically just like git commit and what's your message. And then publish branch, this would be the git push. Now we've pushed it to the remote repository, or it's trying its best to. Okay, we've done it. So as you can see now, here there's a thing that says you can add anything because there hasn't been anything done, anything changed. So if you go back here, oh, my branch has recent pushes 3 seconds ago. Okay, so as you can see here, even if I reload here, the main branch still has just a README. But if I go here, I can switch to my branch, and now it has README and main.py. So as you can see, you do have, you can keep your changes in separately to keep it organized. So every team can have a separate branch, so you have to work on the same thing, and then go overwrite and clash and all of those issues. So it's just good to have a branch like this. And now to be able to, okay, let's say I did it. This, beautiful. I want this on the main branch. This is my final work. And I want to merge it. So I am now in main, and then so here we do the git merge command, basically move everything to main. And I would say I'm currently in main, and I want to take my branch and I want to merge it in here. And wow, let's see. I'm now in the main branch, as you can see. Good, not good. And I see main.py. We go back here. haven't committed yet. Okay. So also what you can do here is that you can make this thing's yelling at you to make a pull request. You can also just do it here to merge. Just whatever you prefer. We're gonna work now. Wow, we did it. So now the main branch has main.py. And then we do, oh, okay, just kidding. So we do want to mention the concept of merge conflicts. There's possibly, when you try and merge, your branches may clash and your code will clash and you'll have to go through and be like, I want this code from here, I want this code from here. If that happens, call a mentor. Ask for help because those things can be pretty tricky, and if you make a mistake, you may lose some code. But if you do try to do good practice with Git stuff, you shouldn't run into, I hope, too much chaos. So going back to the slideshow. Here is a cheat sheet if you want to scan the QR code, and I will move this. Oops, sorry. This should give you like a bunch of commands and stuff that you can just pull up and reference while you're doing your code. I'll give it a few seconds to scan that. And I believe all these slides will be available for you to see too. If you do miss it now, you can get it then. And here is our check-in QR code if you want to scan that. But while we're scanning this, I hope you did learn a lot about your Git basics. We hope that your project runs smoothly and you have no conflicts. So a few more seconds to do the check-in here. And then, yeah, thank you for attending this presentation. If you have any questions, ask us or Google, either. And best of luck to all of your projects.